Hello, my name is Andrew, and today we're doing a Notion tour and talking about the top 3 benefits I've experienced after journaling in Notion every day for 5 years. All right, so I'm just gonna start by giving you a little tour of my Notion daily log database. It's basically like a spreadsheet, but the cool thing about Notion is that you can open up each of these individual pages. So this is sort of like the page in a journal. And the first thing that I have with each new page is a title. I also have a number. This is the number of days that I've been journaling for. So it's 1,953, which is pretty cool to see. And then whenever I start a new one, I just put today here, and then I'll change the title later. So for example, if we go back to the main view here, I've got a title for each page. And I've been doing this thing where I have kind of the 2 main events that happen that day, which I find makes it easier to remember what was going on. You know, when you just have one thing, it doesn't really stick in your mind, but when you have 2 together connected and you see that title, it sort of like pops it into your mind, and then you can visualize what's in there. The next thing I've got is a property called done. This is essentially a formula that takes all of the properties that are required that I need to do every day and just makes sure that I've filled them out. So right here, this is the one for today, so it's not checked, but if we open up yesterday's page, for example, you can see that it's got a check. So this makes it really easy to keep track of whether or not I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. Then I've also got a since property, which just makes sure that I don't get off track, which, oh, look what happened. I did get off track. I'm supposed to be 1951 and I'm 1953, so I can change this. And then the third property here, I have overall, sort of like sums all of the stats that I have for each day. It's kind of like an objective score. I've also got a date, which is really important for journal entries. I keep track of my checking, which I find is helpful for, you know, just tracking my finances, but also it's got a bar here. So like if I'm saving up for something, I can see how much progress I've made towards that, which is really motivating. And then I have a words property, which is kind of the same thing. I'm trying to write 1,000 words a day. I've got 23,000 so far, so it works really well to have tangible metrics for these things that you're trying to do every single day. And honestly, like when I did my 365 comics challenge where I was drawing a comic every day, I realized like how powerful it is to break your goals up into these little chunks that you just do like a habit. Below that, I've got a video property, and I'm a full-time content creator on YouTube, so I'll put the URL for whatever video I filmed in that day. And then here's the meat. This is like the journal entry. I have a description property, and the way that I've set it up is that I put the bold title here for each little event that happens. Usually I start the day with either rested or insomnia, and I describe like how my sleep was and how I felt when I woke up in the morning. And this is one of the nice things about journaling in Notion, because it makes it easier to figure out chronic health problems. Like I can go back to my main page here and search for insomnia, and then I get all of the days when I'm having insomnia. And like if I get onto a streak of insomnia, I can kind of go back and see like, okay, you know, what was happening on the first day when my sleep started to go down. And that's something you can't do with a paper journal. I mean, yeah, you could flip through hundreds of pages, but it's just paper. You can't search it or filter it or anything like that. And so that's the biggest benefit of Notion. It's like having a second brain for all of your memories, because if you're not one of the 0.00001% of people who have a photographic memory and you forget something, it's gone forever. Plus, even with a paper journal, like if you had a fire or a flood and those journals were destroyed, like that's also poof, you know, the end of your memories. But with Notion, it's always backed up in the cloud, and I just love this feature of being able to like search my own brain. For example, I'm searching 10K here, and I can see right here, this is the day when I started writing my sci-fi book, and I can go back to that day and I can see like what I was thinking and what led to me starting that. But I'd say the second benefit of journaling for the past 5 years is just like the reflection of writing every single day. And it helps you sort of identify both negative and positive patterns. For example, here's one from FedEx the other day. This is such a mistake. I had sold something on Reverb, and I was on the step where I was gonna ship the package, right? And you could either choose UPS or FedEx. And UPS was like $20 more expensive, but this is like a $500 item that I had sold. And I have the UPS store like a 5-minute drive from my house. But stupidly, I chose FedEx, and it led to this whole huge thing where I had to go to the library and like print off the label and then drive all the way over to FedEx. And it was this whole huge hassle, and I wasted a bunch of time. So I was writing about this, and it's just like, yeah, next time this happens, I really just need to use UPS because it's just not worth it. And these are the sort of like little details that you catch when you're journaling that can kind of just get swept under the rug if you're not writing about it every day, which can lead you into these negative loops where you just keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. The third benefit I've experienced from Notion is using stats. So every day I keep track of a score. This is like the subjective score for the day. I keep track of how creative I was. These are out of 10, by the way, so they're like typical scores. I track how much I exercise, and lines is sort of like how much risk I took, like was I just doing things that were easy and normal for me, or was I really pushing myself outside my comfort zone? I also track my level of pain and then quality of sleep, which this day was not good. And what's awesome about keeping these stats is that Notion lets you do averages and other mathematical transformations. So my overall score is a 6 out of 10 for the last 5 years. But it's interesting because you can do different views too. So like this has been filtered for all the days that are happening in this year, 2025. And you can see that I'm already up to a 6.78. So I'm on this new diet called raw primal, which is mostly raw animal based. And I have proof that it's working, because if you look at the second database I've created called yearly log, which sums all the scores and the stats for all the days in each year. You can see that 2021 was my best. I was at 6.7, so I'm already at 6.8. And so far I've been doing way better than last year where I was only at 5.11, which is pretty bad. One other note about how I've got my Notion journal pages set up is that I've got these relation properties, which essentially just connects one page to another page. It can be in the same database or a different database. This is the tomorrow one it's just a page in the daily log for the next day. And when I'm done with this day, I'll put that in there. You just start typing the title. And then yesterday, it's the same thing. I just put the daily log from the day before. And I also use that in the done property. So I make sure that each page has a previous day before and also a day after. So yeah, that's a little tour of my Notion, some of the benefits from journaling every day for 5 years. And if you have any questions about journaling in Notion or creativity or productivity in general, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Peace.